The gross domestic product, or GDP, is one of the most widely used indicators for measuring economic performance. The GDP is the total measure of production, income, and expenditure of an economy during a certain period, usually a quarter or a year. In other words, GDP tells us the value of all the goods and services produced within Nigeria's borders. This includes everything from the cars we drive, to the clothes we wear, to the food we eat. Think of the GDP like a giant checkbook that keeps track of all the money coming in and going out of the country. In simple terms, the GDP tells us the health of the economy. If the GDP is growing, it means that the country is producing more goods and services and making more money. This is typically seen as a sign of a healthy economy. For example, the 2022 third quarter GDP report revealed a growth of 2.25%. This means that the economy grew by 2.25% for that quarter when compared to the previous quarter. In Nigeria, the economy is divided into 19 sectors. These sectors are made up of different economic activities where Nigerians earn income. The GDP is determined by assessing the performance of these 19 economic sectors. Some of the sectors include agriculture, mining and quarrying, manufacturing, trade, construction, education, human health and social services, information and communication, real estate, and lots more. The contribution of each of these sectors to the GDP gives us an idea of the performance of these individual sectors in the economy. For example, in the 2022 third quarter GDP, agriculture was the single largest contributor to the GDP, with a 29.7% share. The GDP is often used to compare the economies of different countries. It can help us tell how they are doing relative to each other. So, how is the GDP calculated? The GDP is calculated by adding up the value of all the goods and services produced within Nigeria's borders. Think of it like a giant shopping list of everything that is being made and sold in the country. There are three main ways to calculate GDP. First is the production approach. The production approach adds up the value of everything that is being produced by companies and businesses. Second is the income approach. This approach adds up all the money people are earning, such as wages and salaries, rents, and profits. Third is the expenditure approach, which adds up all the money people are spending on goods and services. All these methods, when compared, ought to give the same GDP number. This is a good way to cross-check the accuracy of the calculation. Once the GDP has been calculated, the figure realized can be adjusted, taking current inflation and price changes into consideration. This is known as real GDP. Nominal GDP, on the other hand, does not take inflation and changes in price into account. As at the end of 2021, Nigeria's real GDP value was 72 trillion naira, while the nominal GDP value was 173 trillion naira. It is important to note that the GDP is just one way to measure the health of the economy. It is not an accurate measure of other welfare indicators. For example, GDP growth does not necessarily mean that everyone in the country is doing well. It is possible to have a high GDP and also have a high poverty rate. So while the GDP is a useful tool for determining the health of the economy, it is important to look at other factors as well, such as unemployment and wealth distribution, to get a whole picture of the economic situation. Get quarterly updates on Nigeria's GDP by visiting the NBS website at www.nigerianstat.gov.ng.